few years ago, I was off the back of a couple of failed businesses. I was living in Barcelona. I'd had a property management agency split amongst me and four friends that never really made any money. I had an influencer agency which actually cost an absolute fortune, and my fitness business, as a result of running these other two businesses, had basically gone backwards for about 6 months. And I was probably at the worst point I had ever been in terms of forward momentum. I felt like my momentum was actually pushing me backwards. Now, life was actually pretty good. I was actually enjoying life. It was exciting. It was interesting. I learned a lot. But in terms of actually moving forward towards the goals that I have, it was probably the worst period of my life. That wasn't that long ago. It was 3 years ago from the recording of this video. And one thing that I learned then was that I was very, very locked in on the game of entrepreneurship. And these big losses, which at the time didn't actually feel that big, but looking back at them now, were pretty major losses early on in my entrepreneurial career. They never even really deterred me. Like, not for 1 minute did I think about going back to another job. Not for 1 minute did I think like this entrepreneur stuff isn't working out. In fact, the opposite. It just was like, wow, now I've learned so much and I know so much. Yes, I've wasted some time here, but I've also taken so much insight and experience to go and bring on to the next thing. At that point, I'd already grown 2 fitness offers to 10K, so I knew I could grow a fitness offer, and I went on to basically rebuild my fitness business from there. But the thing that really was important is that I look back now, and that actually kicked some friends of mine out of the game. So I had, friends who were in my circle, I would say, around the same time, who had failed businesses as well. And when things didn't work out as they had expected, they took that as failure and they left and went back to what they were doing before, or went back to doing a normal job, or went back to doing some freelance work. And they actually moved backwards in terms of the thing that they wanted to do. So yes, I moved backwards in terms of my goals, but I stayed in the right vehicle. I stayed in entrepreneurship. Some of them moved backwards in terms of they moved backwards from their entrepreneurial goals, but they also then moved out of the vehicle that they wanted to be in because maybe they didn't believe, or maybe they weren't able for the failure. I'm not quite sure. What I do know is this: if you're playing the game of entrepreneurship, one of the surest ways that you can win is just by staying in the game, because a lot of people get chewed up and spit out. And if you genuinely love the game like I do, I know that on a long enough time frame, very few people will compete with me, because I love the game and I'm playing a game that I want to play till the day I die. And I'm excited to work in the mornings, and I get up excited to work. And for me, it's more difficult to not work than it is to work. So I'm in the right vehicle, and I am fully committed to being in that vehicle for as long as it takes to hit my goals. And I will just suck up and embrace any failures or discomfort that come my way. Now, right now, there's not much in the way of like major failures or discomfort. Things are going well, but there's always failures and discomfort along the way. But I feel like those major failures and discomforts early on could have really easily derailed me if I didn't have a long-term mindset, and if I wasn't fully committed and all in and just focused on staying in the game. Because I'm not playing a 1 year or 2 year or 3 year game. My goals are 10 years, which means if I have a shitty month, or I have a shitty 6 months, or even a shitty year, it doesn't really matter on a 10-year time frame, because so long as I actually go back and I look at what made it a shitty month or a shitty 6 months or a shitty year, and I can learn from the things I did wrong, the things I did well, and I can actually use that to move forward, then all failure is just feedback. So long as I have a positive relationship with failure, and so long as I'm committed to the long term. Now, what I see a lot is people come into the game, and when I say the game, I'm talking about coaching, creating, anything in the digital world, online business world. People come in and they see success stories and they expect to have massive success overnight. And while it is possible to have very, very quick success in this game, it's also imperative that you pair it with a long-term mindset. And you bear in mind that you win by staying in the game. And if you can stay in the game for 10 years plus, you're going to have more success than 90% of the people who get into the online business space.